father-in-law come to visit yesterday?
Yeah, Rod's been here. He's gotten a full week of football. My son, one of my twin boys, is a student manager at Wisconsin and works for the football team. So Rod went to Madison and saw the Badgers practice on Monday, and then he's been here the last 2 days with us. So it's been great having him around.
Was he as impressed by the way you guys got after the Saints as the rest of us watching?
Yeah, the big thing we're looking for right now, guys, is just, I think the thing I've been really most pleased with, not only the last 2 days, but all of camp, we've talked about playing with great effort all the time, not a sometimes thing, but an all the time thing. And, our 16th and 17th practice against the Saints, guys, they played hard and they played fast and they played physical, and that's the thing that I'm looking for right now, and they did that, so it was good to see.
Joe Matt has talked a lot about how the edge rusher spots, specifically 3 through 5, are wide open. What have you seen from some of those guys the last couple of days specifically? It looked like Gary and Kobe Jones were pretty active.
I'm not going to get into specifics, but I think it's the thing that you love about training camp, hopefully, is competition. And, of course, we got 2 great ones in Preston and Rashaan. But after that, it's competitive. We got, and you could say that with every room on the defense. You can say that with every room on our team. But training camp and the preseason is about competition, and because you start with 90 and you end up with 53. So it's and every single day has been competitive, and it's we still got another week and a half left, and it's going to go right down to the wire. But it's been great competition at I know on our side of the ball in every single room. It's going to go down to the final discussion that we have. But that's what training camp should be. That's what you want, and we definitely got it.
Hey Joe, how has Rashaan acclimated himself to that slot position?
I think you guys have all gotten to know Rashaan. He has such a great feel. He's such an instinctual and aware football player. I think you could put Sewell anywhere in the back end, and he'd just find a way. Obviously, the nickel corner position is unique. It's different. It's different playing inside than outside. But he's done a phenomenal job, and we still are. We'll put Ja in there. Savage was getting a lot of work in there before he got the hamstring on family night. So I think the more people that you can have play multiple roles, I think it's important. But Rashaan's done a great job. Quayshawn Nixon's playing in there. Obviously Sherm plays in there. Thump Gaines, who is one of our safeties, he got his hamstring on family night also. He was doing some really good things playing the nickel also. So it's a lot of fun this type of year to get a lot of guys showing what they can do, and but Rashaan's been great.
Back to the outside linebackers in Gary. What have you seen the last week out of him? I mean, at least to my eye, the first couple of weeks of camp, he didn't do a whole lot. I would say the second against the Niners, and he's spent half of the past 2 days in the Saints backfield.
Yeah. Well, I think as a rookie coming in, I think you can make that statement with every single rookie on, again, both sides of the ball. These rookies come in here, and it's literally like they're learning a new language. I mean, it's like going to a different country and learning a new language. So I think all of our guys, their heads were swimming, especially, in OTAs, but then to get, reacquainted with everything when we take 6 weeks off, then we come back to camp. So I think a lot of those guys, some guys, it happens a little bit quicker to get their feet underneath them and for it to click. And I think a number of guys, we're in the 4th week of training camp right now, so it's starting to click, which is great.
Coming into camp, it seemed like the starting line at pretty much every position was pretty subtle, returning a lot of guys, a lot of familiarity with you, and then kind of developing depth behind that. How much does that kind of strike you to balance, coaching those guys to come together at the top, but building that depth? Does that require two different approaches, or how do you balance that?
Well, I've told you guys before, we kind of take the approach that, we're going to coach everyone exactly the same. And it's going to be detailed, it's going to be hard, it's going to be demanding. And it doesn't matter if you're, a starter, an established starter, or if you're a guy that's looking to, crack the starting lineup, or you're a guy that's a backup, or a guy that's, maybe going to be a practice squad player for us. We're going to take that approach the way we're going to handle everyone exactly the same. And of course, you can only have 11 guys out on the field, and in training camp, if you're on the field, if you're in the huddle, you're a starter, and play like it. We're going to coach you like it. So, because I've told you, once we get in the season, we have 11 starters, and we have 11 starters in waiting. We don't have backups. So I think when you take that approach, if guys really buy into it, they can maximize who they are. And so far we're doing that right now, so it's been great.
Hey Joe, Isaiah McDuffie had a really quiet rookie season. Seems to be showing up a lot more this year. Is there anything beyond just the traditional year 1 to year 2 thing with him that you're seeing in terms of how he's gotten to this point?
Yeah, I think it's every guy's different. Some guys come in as rookies, and it doesn't matter, draft status or where they were drafted. Some guys just come in and handle things a little faster. Some guys it takes a little bit more time. And I think it's a great lesson that I know I learned as a young coach, that a lot of times when an individual comes in and struggles, a lot of times you're like, oh God, he can't, and then it takes some guys a little bit longer. And I think Isaiah, you can make that case with a number of guys, but they come in year 2, they're hearing the same thing again. They're going through that installation again. They're hearing, the same defense a second time in a second year. Went through, we had a full off season this year, and I think that's something that is really not talked about enough. The last couple of years, with everything that was going on, we didn't have off seasons. We had kind of a partial off season last year. So I mean, when you really look at second and third year guys this year, this is the first true offseason that they've had. And the offseason is vital to a player's development, and both from a skill development, but then the understanding of a package, the understanding of a philosophy, the understanding of a defense. So it's great to see, the work with all of our assistant coaches that they've done with these guys, because we had a full offseason. And I think you're seeing, like a guy like that, he's having some success, because he had, 9 OTA days under his belt. He had a full 10-week off season in addition to this being his second training camp. So it's exciting to see.
Where can Jaron Reid help you the most this year, and a healthy Jaron Reid? And, do you consider him a classic 3 technique type guy who can, help you have passing and on rundowns, or
Yeah.
where do you think he helps you the most?
Well, the thing with Jay Reid is that, he's played a lot of football, and he's played a lot of football at a high level. He had a number of, I don't know if he had a Pro Bowl season in Seattle, but I know he had a 10-sack year, which for interior guys to get double-digit sacks, that's pretty impressive. And then, went and played good football in Kansas City as well. So I think he brings a lot to the table, just as not only a veteran, but a veteran that's played at a high level. And, we're going to move him all over we're going to put him everywhere. I think he's a guy that if he was in a true 4-3 system, I think he could be a stereotypical 3 technique, but he can play up and down the line. He can play, over a center, he can play over a guard, he can play over a tackle. We call it, 1 technique, 3 technique, 5 technique. He's talented enough, he can do all those things. And then just what he brings us, in the run game, obviously playing those different techniques on first and second down. he brings us another great aspect on third down where he can, affect the passer and rush the quarterback. So really glad that he's here. Obviously, he's gonna help us a lot.
Now that you've seen Quay in a football setting a lot more than the last time we talked to you, how does having him and grouping him with Devondre open up possibilities for you with creativity with your defense?
It's great. He's just, again, I'll give you the same thing. He's a young player. Every day is a new day, but you can see, the more we get into this, the light, starts to come on. And, even though he's an incredibly talented kid, he has unbelievable physical, gifts. He's still a guy that, I'll use the same analogy. He's learning a new language right now. But incredibly talented. Him and, I've bragged on our veteran players a lot with you guys, and I think it's so great for a guy like D. Wyatt to come in and be around a Kenny Clark. It's so great for, Tariq to come in and have Savage and, Smash. It's incredible for a guy like Quay to be able to sit in a meeting every day with Devondre Campbell. That veteran leadership that not only are those guys great players, they're great guys, and they have just such a wealth of knowledge that they're willing to share and help and, bring along. And I think Dre's been great for just the daily development of Quay. It's been awesome.
Coach, speaking about veteran leadership, has there been any player specifically whose leadership style has really impressed you or really helped the team?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that list is long. I mean, it's, we have, you guys probably get tired of me saying it, but, what the player and the leader that Preston Smith's become, I think he's been integral with the player and the leader that Rashaan Gary has become. I think we're very fortunate that we have great guys that fit that role that you're asking in every room. To have a Preston Smith and a Rashaan Gary in the outside linebacker room, to have a Devondre Campbell in the linebacker room, to have Kenny Clark, but then you got a guy like Dean Lowry, and Dean Lowry might come across as a guy that doesn't say much, and he doesn't, but the way he works and the way he prepares, he leads in a very quiet way, And then the same thing with, our DB room, I said this last year with Stokes. For Stokes to come into a room and have a Jair Alexander and a, Adrian Amos and a Darnell Savage, that's veteran leadership is vital in the growth of young players. And we got guys in every room that fit that role. So it's really cool.
What's the difference now with Rashaan Gary compared to a year ago when he was kind of coming in and about to ascend the way that he did? What's the difference now to a year ago?
I think just consistency. I'm a firm believer, consistency is the truest measure of performance. And I've said this that's probably the thing that I love most about Kenny Clark. But it's definitely the thing I love most about Rashaan Gary is that he shows up every single day. And it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. You know exactly what you're going to get out of Rashaan Gary every single day. And then it becomes a habit. And then it's his demeanor and his style and the way he plays every single day. And I think that obviously, when you practice like that, it translates to games. And that's why I think he's, the player that he is and the player that he's still going to become.
Is there a confidence that you can sense with a player who's had the type of season that
Say
he
that
had?
again?
Is there a confidence that you can sense with with Rashaan having the season that he had last year that maybe a player that hasn't had that yet, that doesn't have and hasn't molded yet, just having that on?
Well, I mean, confidence is big, with players, and I think the more confidence that you have, the more success you have. First and foremost, every single one of these guys, if they weren't confident in their abilities, they wouldn't be at this level. But I think, the more confident you are and the more success you have, of course, you're able to take your game to the next level. And Rashaan is definitely a guy that's a great example of. But it starts with his consistency. It starts with, he just doesn't show up and play great on Sunday. it's a mindset and an approach that he takes every single day. And that's the consistency that I think young guys, they see. They're like, wow, this guy, he puts in the work on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's no wonder that he plays good on Sunday.
Hey, Joe, having the two inside linebackers you have obviously gives you a lot of flexibility potentially, right? I'm wondering, of all the places you've been, not just as a coordinator, but like going back to being with Monty, with the Super Bowl team in Tampa, have you seen, have you had a collection of talent that you've worked with that gave you so much flexibility that, like, if you want to play dime, you got 3 really good corners and you could play dime, but you might not have to. You've got pretty good talent up front that you can go 2 down linemen or 3. You've got,
Sure.
I mean, do you just have a lot more of a smorgasbord of options on what you want to run as a coordinator than you usually would have?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the exciting thing is, and we still don't know. We're still a week and a half away to see what our final roster is going to look like. But just to mention the guys that we've already talked about. We got 2 really good edge rushers. We got 4 really good inside players. We have 3 really good corners. We got 2 really good safeties. We got 2 really good inside backers. It will be exciting to see, what the remaining part of the roster is going to be. But, I think when you got really good players that are great guys that have the #1 common goal of they don't care who gets the success, they just want to win. That's the thing that I'm most proud of with this group is that they work and they grind and they compete every single day. And at the end of the day, all they want to do is win. The individual accolades and all those things are great, but we got a real selfless group that just wants to play good defense and win football games. And that's the thing that's awesome to me.
So do you spend the next couple of weeks trying to figure out what your best personal groupings are?
Oh, sure. That's part of you're doing that all the way until, the final roster is cut and again, that's what training camp is for, It's obviously, it's to come together as a team, but all those things those are constantly things that we're talking about every single day.